Hello, guys. Welcome back to another episode of Revive to Stage, Revive Stronger podcast with me, Pascal Floor, and my buddy on the other end, Steve Hall. Today, we are going to talk about the time in between the shows of Steve from the NPA show up to the UK DFBA show at the end of September. The transitioning phase, kind of, the new peak week strategy. And you're also planning a photo shoot, right? Next week?
So, lots going on. And first of all, guys, Pascal hasn't eaten, so I think it should be a kind of a round of applause for him right now. He's trained, come straight online to do this before getting his post-workout in. So he's losing out on all the gains. All the
gains are lost. Actually, I shouldn't have trained at all because it was a waste.
Oh.
Right, with nothing to eat afterwards, it is a waste of time actually. But no, it was my fault because over the past 4 days I'm sleeping in that long. I really don't get it. But here in the morning I got up again at 7 o'clock, which is super odd for me. Normally I get up at 5 a.m. in the morning without setting an alarm. And over the past days it was always like I was sleeping until 7 to 9 actually. And so got up, was a little bit delayed, had my coffee, watched over my client updates, then trained, and it is my overreaching week. So I got into my first training session of the day, got back home, I did all the client updates, and then there wasn't a time for sitting down, enjoying a meal, and I hate it. You're probably like that as well. I hate it when you need to rush through a meal. Yeah. I had it in the past so often due to my job when there was a strict deadline, or the time when I was working for a music management or video production company. The whole day was packed, right? And you were always on the run and on the go. And I hated it to simply throw down and munch down the meals as if it's only there for survival. I want to sit down and actually enjoy the meal. And there wasn't any time in between Revive to Stage and the client updates. So, I'm here.
This is something
all catabolic.
I think it's actually, I think the audience would appreciate, and I know your clients, I know the clients of Revive Stronger will appreciate having a bit of an update on Pascal, because obviously we've been focusing a lot on myself. I feel like Pascal feels like, I know we had this discussion you're not in contest prep, it's not interesting, but I think off season and that transition period is really interesting. So I wouldn't mind actually spending a little bit of time talking about that if you were okay to, just because it just reminded me the meal thing. Totally right now is just, for example, yesterday, me and Charlotte were going out, and I was there's a meal, I need to have a meal. I can't go and she had a veggie hot dog with cheese and mustard and all this lovely stuff on the side.
She did a game face.
I can't eat that.
Bulking.
I could probably find something. But yeah, I couldn't have that. So I wanted my food. So I made some pro oats to take with me, and we went to a coffee shop and I got a coffee and ate that with my coffee. And that sounds fine, but Charlotte wasn't eating. We were due to go to this not food festival. It was a car boot sale type thing, with cool cars.
I've seen that, and I was just miring hard yesterday.
It was pretty cool. It was nice just to get out and do something. The weather was a bit shit. Anyway, so I was I felt really awkward because I was I don't want to eat this really quick, but I know Charlotte's we want to go and get out and do something. So I was having to rush through it, and it was really annoying me. And I think this is something you're slowly transition out of because you still haven't been in your gaining phase or off season that long. I think actually getting to a point where you can rush meals and you don't have to be where you can just have a protein bar and a couple of cereal bars and just chow them down and then get on with your day. Yeah. I think it's a really good sign that you're over dieting, you're dieting.
kind of, but there was a long time until I got to the point where I wasn't feeling that hungry all the time. And it took me a really long time, which is quite odd because I was eating a lot over the first couple of weeks, because I took Mike's nutritional what was the name of
nutraceutical concordance. So basically, exactly. I use it like I talk about complementary nutrition and training paradigms, basically. Yeah. Phase it.
And this is something I took into consideration for transitioning out of the contest prep.
This is what
where I really munched down a lot of food for the first couple of weeks to really ensure to get the most out of that time frame and the anabolic response your body actually throws out. Blend that with high volume training, and I was training twice daily as well, and I could see it in my performance. And also I packed on so much size in such a short time, and made the best example is simply the performance on my bench press. Like in 8 weeks time, I put on 20 kilograms on my bench. Like back.
Newbie gains, literally.
Yeah, like back. I was there at some point, but due to the fact I was dieting for such a long time, my strength levels plummeted so hard and so badly, especially on the bench, which isn't a surprise when you take things into consideration in terms of your mechanics and all that kind of stuff. But my bench skyrocketed, and this was just a prime example of what was happening to my body, the composition of my body, and also the performance. And I was munching down food, and also simply because I was hungry all the time. I was still eating high voluminous food, but then over 3,000 to 3,400 calories a day, depending on the block of my mesocycle. Yeah. And still I was feeling super hungry. I gained a little bit of more fluff than I wanted to over that time course. And this is the reason why I then threw in a really short and aggressive mini cut for 2 weeks time to simply get rid of it again. And it is still the same strategy Mike was talking about in the seminar, which helped massively, quite surprisingly, in terms of getting back on track. Because I have the feeling, and this is only the case for myself, that when I'm cutting, I'm way more disciplined and on point than when I'm gaining. And I actually don't like that, because I have the opinion that the off season is actually nearly more important than cutting down. Of course, cutting down is a necessary process to reveal everything you've been working for and to then finally make it on stage. But the off season is where you're building that muscle mass, which you then present afterwards after cutting down. Yeah. So I think that especially in your off season, you should be on point. Sure, you have a wider range, you have a little bit more flexibility because you're eating a little bit more, but still you should be on point. And I wasn't really. So the mini cut surprisingly helped me extremely much to refocus, to get back on track, to really nail down my nutrition. And now I stopped the mini cut like 4 days ago. And I'm nailing down my nutrition, and also my hunger levels are way better than in the time when I was simply gaining.
Yeah,
I have the feeling that first now, after I'm now 9 weeks after I dropped the contest prep, I'm first now starting to get back to feel normal again, which is odd because I wasn't really that lean, right?
I think it's super interesting. I think this relates really well to Broderick's talked about every biological process has these curves where you get this stress, you get this adaptation, and then you get like the outcome. And so I think, like we know with refeeds, like you have a refeed day, maybe it's even 4,000 calories, even a diet break for a week. If you've already been dieting a month, that week you're still hungry the entire week. Maybe by the end of that diet break, if you haven't been dieting that long beforehand, you might get a little bit less hungry and food focused. But this is why, if you've been dieting for like 3 months, or a contest prep like 6 months, and you've had intermittent breaks, it's not enough. And then this is why afterwards you have like half the time it's like, actually, this is where the adaptation is still taking place. Ghrelin and leptin are still a bit screwy. You're still very hungry. And then it all sorts itself out. It takes a while for you to actually feel better. And I think that's part of it. And I think actually people talk about, oh, you need to gain this body fat back. You need to blah, 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 blah. And I actually think a lot of the time with these, it's just a time process. Like if you can,
definitely.
Like I'm not saying it definitely is because we don't know, but I think if you can reverse and do it slowly and actually not accrue that much fat, maybe, I think you probably find that it might just be time, and different people will take different amounts of time. But that's a really interesting experience. I think
it could be, but I also we know that leptin and ghrelin respond to your body fat levels, right? But where this threshold is, and if that threshold could change over time, I'm not sure of. So it could potentially be that when you've been obese for a long period of time, that when you're leaning down and trying to stay there, that threshold of how leptin and ghrelin are responding to your specific body fat set point is changing over time as well. So it could be the like you said, that with over time that there happens some kind of change, and all you need is not ready to get back on a specific body fat percentage. I think that, again, there's probably a threshold, because being at 6% or something simply isn't sustainable and healthy, and will probably never be, no matter how unless you're Nunez, no matter how long you're staying in that ballpark. And I think that there's a certain threshold you need to be over, but it could potentially be that it's changing over time. And I think that perhaps spending the time there and trying to reverse out of it could be the explanation behind why some reverse dieting approaches might work better for some individuals than others. But I also know that other people have made the experience, just to throw it out there for the people. I'm not saying that reverse dieting has some kind of benefits or anything like that, because many other coaches who I've talked with, and also in my experience, it is that in the end, it nearly comes down to the same thing.
Yeah, I've heard that as well. It's like our approach at Revive Stronger. We're very individual. It's not like we're saying everyone has to do the 3DMJ recovery diet. Everyone has to do this really strict. No one has to do the really strict reverse diet. We don't ever propose 5 grams of carbs, 2 grams of fats, because you're never ever going to know what that is. But we might suggest like additional 10% on top of things, or like 25% reduction in carbs, and I mean, stuff like
this also depends on the individual itself. When it's a really small female athlete, a reverse diet where you implement like 5 grams or 10 grams of carbs per week and some fats is actually a little bit more than for someone who's weighing already 180, and then 10 grams of carbs is actually next to nothing, right? There are definitely some individual differences, and this is where it then comes down to what you've just mentioned, that you need to find what's working for the individual itself. But this whole topic about reverse dieting brings me to a good point, actually, we wanted to talk about, and this is the transitioning phase between the shows of the NPA leading to your photo shoot, which is next week, and then leading to the UK DFBA at the end of the month. So if you want, you can please share a little bit with us, with me, with the audience.
I want to just say as well, for the audience who are listening, please do comment below if you'd like an update on Pascal and how he's doing and everything, because I realize we've gone to like weekly updates on me, and this is an interesting time. Like, I have almost got stuff to say every week, whereas I remember back, it was like every week it was like Pascal has something interesting to say, but Steve doesn't really have anything. He's just going through the process. So it's kind of like that. But I think it would be good in a few weeks just to have an update on what you're doing, Pascal.
And on that note, and without going too much into detail now, there was happening a lot.
Yeah.
And not just in terms of training and nutrition, but also in terms of my mentality and things I've went through. And I could easily fill an entire episode with only talking about me.
And I think
I'm this is never the problem for me because I tend to ramble a lot. So
I think part of it was, and this is part of it, you didn't really want to share it. Am I right? Is that like at the time you were kind of like, you didn't really want to talk about it? Is that? Yeah.
Definitely.
So I think it's good that we can now reflect on that as well. But if I talk about, at least we can talk about like the reverse diet, and that might be what most of this episode is about. So I'm actually working on like a framework in terms of like contest prep and what I view as, and how my prep has panned out, because it's been very successful. Like we've talked about it before, and how like I'm panning out like going to do an article on it potentially. It might be a series of articles where I have like phase 1 of prep, phase 2 of prep, blah, 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 where people know what the kind of position I took. And one of the phases of prep was to, you ideally get lean early so that you're basically in ballpark of like 99 to 98% of the way to like complete conditioning the best conditioning you could get, which is basically where I am now. And then you'd kind of reverse diet. So you're still dieting. I'm still in a calorie deficit, but I'm in a very good position in which I can reduce the amount of fat I'm losing per week. I can actually increase carbs, decrease cardio. I'm actually increasing training volume, or I can, because I've got more MRV for that now, which is brilliant. So I can actually potentially regain a little bit of lean tissue if I'm really gunning and on point with everything, which is what I'm trying to do. So I had my MPA show, came third, qualified for the finals, which is at the end of October, which is awesome. And now, since then, I basically chopped my cardio in half from its highest level. I reduced my steps from an average of, I can't remember what it was totally, but in the week I was hitting 15,000. I've come down to 12,000. On the weekends, I was up to 20,000. I've reduced that to 15,000. So quite a substantial reduction in that, which has been a load off my mind, because it gets quite stressful when you have so many steps to hit. Because like I want to watch stuff with Charlotte on the weekend. We have stuff we want to do. Like I can't, if you don't stay on top of your steps and you're not in a routine, it completely can wipe you. And I'm sure you've experienced that, Pascal, when you your steps got very high. And then in terms of fats a bit pretty much stayed the same. So they haven't changed much. Carbohydrates have come up about 20 grams. And then this is essentially what I'm going to do each week. So next week, I'll keep my cardio and my step count level, most likely. I normally would increase them slightly, so I'll keep it level. And I will increase my carbs again by 20 grams or so. It might actually be a little bit more. I wouldn't really go much less than 20 grams, like 100 calories. If you go much less than that, it's kind of like, are you actually doing anything? So that's going to be the process between kind of shows, is kind of reversing and reducing that deficit. But then my peaking strategy has changed. So guys know I did the 7-day depletion, which was hell, and a 7-day kind of replete, essentially. Spoken to Broderick and essentially reduced it by 2 days. And people out there are going to be thinking, Steve, you're a nutcase, you're still going to deplete for 6 days. I am going to for this first UK DFBA show. I will stick to it. I'm just talking about it makes me feel a bit nervous and like I don't really want to do it. But I'll be reversed into it. So I'll be starting off at a bit higher state. And I've experienced it before. So I've already introduced, like, I know what days I'm resting. Like the last 2 days, I'm not really doing anything. I know, like, in terms of the days before it are like depletion sessions, so they're not as scary as, like, I kind of went into it not really knowing what I was doing structure wise, my training, my nutrition. Like I know the foods that I can eat that are going to keep me in the best place possible. So I have a lot more understanding of it. And I think just reducing it by a day, the depletion, is going to make the world of difference. And basically it was a discussion of how many days do you need to deplete that you can get away with it. And it was kind of like, well, this is the thing Broderick was talking about. He was like, well, you can actually deplete muscle glycogen. Like, you could probably do it in quite a short period of time. Like Brad Dieter said on the podcast, you can never fully deplete a muscle of glycogen, but you can get it pretty low in a short amount of time. And on Lyle McDonald's Ultimate Diet 2.0, I think he has just a couple of days depletion. It's not like a long process. And most depletion strategies are only maybe 3-4 days. But Broderick thinks, like these biological processes, they take time. So he thinks for all of the enzymes and stuff to come up so that you can actually fully supercompensate, you may well need that like 6 days. And the reason reduced from 7 to 6 is he was like, actually, I think a lot of the time he thinks about these concepts with like drugged athletes, and they can get away with shorter times because they're on drugs, but they're a lot bigger. Whereas I'm a lot smaller than most of the people he works with because I'm not on anything. So actually, I don't need quite as long.
But the people on Reddit says you are.
Yeah, if anyone's seen on Reddit, apparently there's a natty or not on me. And
but it's Reddit, and I mean, Reddit. Reddit and 4chan is just, you made it, definitely. This is the crowning actually into the world of actually real true bodybuilders.
I can't believe people would think that I'm not natural. It just seems like when they see me, like if I just stood in the mirror and not flexing, like I just look like the most generic guy.
And the thing is, and I there was a discussion a while back over Facebook comment section where Mike especially jumped on as well.
Oh, yeah.
And I said it to you that without any offense, but when you're weighing 165 pounds with a height of 5'10", stepping on stage, and you are on drugs, you're definitely doing something wrong, mate. Because take a look at the Olympia athletes. They are all around 5'6" to 5'10", and they are weighing like 240.
Yeah. And like obviously, you could be like I could. There is like I could be on drugs. Like you could look like me and be on drugs or whatever. But if anyone knows Revive Stronger, if anyone knows my story, my background, like, and the fact I was polygraphed recently just cements it really. And how that polygraph went into, especially, it just goes to even prove, I feel, even more so how honest and open I have been about my past and the history and everything. But anyway. It's just embarrassing because we talk to so many experts. Like if there's anyone who would be jacked, I feel like I'd be pretty jacked if I did take something because I know a lot.
Yeah, totally.
We know a lot.
It would be, and again, without any offense, it would be kind of embarrassing to weigh 165 pounds, being 5'10", and taking shitloads of drugs and doing everything else right. It would be really embarrassing because this would only prove that you have extremely shitty genetics.
That would be so upsetting.
Yeah, so no, but let's get back to the real topic.
So 6-day depletion, 6-day, Broderick likes the depletion and the loading to be the same number of days. I think that makes sense. And I think when I look back over my photos and everything over the loading phase, I think I look good after 4 days. 5 days, I was like an edge better. 6 days was basically my best look. And then on show day, I feel like I may have lost a little bit of conditioning, maybe a little bit of size. Like I woke up lighter, and then the day after that I was flat as anything, but like ripped, but really flat. So I think.
How did you feel on show day? Did you feel pumped, or was it more like just a normal sensation?
You know what? Show day's a really weird day because you're out of your home environment. Well, I was, because I was at a hotel. So I was saying to Charlotte, like, I'm finding it really hard to know like how I look because I'm looking in like there's no real mirrors to look in, and it's not comparable lighting. You're in a different environment. I didn't sleep well at all that night because it was like I had a black sheet that I was sleeping on top of, and I was sleeping in like trackies and stuff because of my tan. Like I couldn't get it on anything, so I didn't sleep well. So I woke up and just like it just was really hard to actually have a good assessment. And then you're pretty much covered the whole day, so you can't like go and check up on yourself. You're also like it's just a really hard the show day is really hard to assess really how you're looking. And so this is why I do it with all my athletes. Basically Friday night, you want to be done, because on the Saturday or whenever your show day is, you basically just want to know that you're a finished package. You don't have to do anything clever, anything fancy. Just eat some typical meals, do your pre-pump up, and then go on stage. When I did that, I was a bit nervous throughout the day, but I think if you do some pump ups during the day, you kind of get a look of yourself. I felt good, and I felt like everything was going in the right direction. So when I did my pump up as well, everything was popping, so it was good. I just feel like it was, and we spoke about it before, when I first started loading, I felt amazing, like this was insane, and I felt like I was looking insane. But I think it was because it was so contrast to how I felt and how I was looking the time before. So I think it was every day was a bit less of a benefit, but I think the 6 days will be the best. And maybe I try 6 days this time, and maybe I decide, maybe I can try and shorten it to 5 days. Mm-hmm. So for people my sort of height and my kind of who metabolize maybe carbohydrates in a very average way can get away with the 5 and 5. And I think that's quite cool. So that's the approach for to peak week. But obviously I have the show this on the 30th. Then if I qualify for finals for the UK DFBA, which is what I've been gunning for the entire season. Like the UK DFBA are the organisation I really love, and I think are high quality. Not that the NPA aren't, but I think the UK DFBA are a bigger organisation. There's more. They look at my physique more favourably. I think for me, the judging is maybe a bit more well-rounded. I can't say, but I place higher with them than I do in the NPA via history and via comments. They seem to take conditioning very much into account, full balance proportion, and these are things that I think I have in my favor.
Totally.
So 2 weeks after that would be finals, so I can't really have done a peaking strategy that takes 2 weeks and then straight away go into a deplete and replete again. It would just be too much. So I'm going to have to have a think, talk to Broderick probably again, and this might be where we decide the shorter protocol with the less aggressive. Maybe I won't look quite as good for finals, but that was kind of a choice I had to make, because right now I could probably decide to do less of an assertive peaking strategy for UK DFBA show, but there's no way I'm in my head thinking I'm definitely going to qualify for finals. So I'm not going to go in with that strategy. Like people will say, you can, in a football match, you might put not all of your best team out for a certain game because you'll save them for a later game because you know you're going to win this game. Whereas I don't know I'm going to qualify, so I might as well go guns blazing. So that would be in 2 weeks. And then a week after that would be the MPA finals. So it's going to be really difficult to know what I'm going to do. In my head, I'm thinking the MPA finals is like a bonus. It's just something I'm going to do for fun. That's what that is, because I think the judging criteria is going to be very similar. I don't think I've got a chance of winning it by any means. I'd be very lucky if I place in the top 3. So that's kind of at the back of my mind of just something that's there for fun. The UK DFBA show now, this is the one I really want to do well in. And then if I qualify for finals, that's just immense. That would just be the cherry on top. So I'm not worried about those. And so what is going to be a similar kind of, and the topic of discussion is the photo shoot this Friday coming. Obviously I'm a bit depleted now, and this is what a lot of people do anyway. Like 3DMJ, or if you listen to Alberto Nunez, he just kind of, his depletion days are just normal dieting days. So whereas he might bring the bucket down to halfway, and not deplete fully like we are for my peak weeks and come all the way down here so we can super compensate. I'm just dieting, going to bring the bucket halfway. I'm going to have a refeed the day before, basically at maintenance. That's going to bring me full. So then when I go into the photo shoot the next day, I'm going to look fuller than I normally would on a dieting day, but not super compensated crazy, which I think is absolutely fine, because the difference is percentage, a 1% or 2%.
Totally.
And this is where, final point I just want to make.
Yeah, sure.
This is where, if there's the depletion and super compensation, there'll be athletes who can't do it. Mentally, it's too much of a stress. It might actually make their physique worse, or their lifestyle doesn't allow for it. It's just a 1% to 2% trick, as it were. It's just to super compensate is essentially a little nugget trick. The people who can do it. Other people, and for competitors like bikini who don't need to super compensate, like it would almost not really be worth the time and hassle. They just can do this softer peakiness approach. So yeah, sorry, Pascal, go on.
No, I just wanted to throw it out there in terms of the photo shoot. Photo shoot is, I mean, all you need to do on that given day is look good, and the rest comes with lighting and with a good photographer who sets you in a good position, who makes you look good. This is his job, actually. And then there's the post-production as well, in which you can tweak things as well. I mean, I was working in that business, so I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
At least I would like to think so. And I mean, sure, the images will always be only as good as the photographer and the images that are actually shot. So the post-production isn't magic, but it enhances the raw images that has been shot. And I think that you're looking fantastic already when you're going in there, and the lighting is good. The I don't know if you put a tan on or anything like that.
Gonna get a fake tan next week, spray tan.
Yeah. So tanning with a little bit of highlighting in terms of fake sweat and all that kind of stuff. I mean, you will look like insane.
I'm excited for that.
On a photo shoot. So
that's with Simon Howard, for people who don't know, kind of, or want to know who that's with. Simon Howard, SNH Photo. I had the same shoot with him 2014. I'm not sure if it's the same gym. It might even be the same gym, which would be really weird. But I'm going to take, it's discussion to have with you a little bit, Pascal, but I'm going to take my posing trunks and probably get mandatories done, because I think that would be really beneficial for us as like a business thing to have like high quality photos of mandatories, although maybe they look fine on stage. So maybe it's an opportunity to get quirky shots.
Yeah, but why not take the opportunity when you were on set already?
He takes like 200 photos and you get to choose 20, or something along those lines. So that'd be cool, and so that'd be hopefully quite fun. Essentially, that is going to be a day not dieting, so it will take away from my days. But at this stage, and something I did want to comment on, I actually found the week after show a bit difficult. So I took the Sunday off and just relaxed, ate about maintenance, had a McFlurry, gorgeous cookie, and a pizza, and it was fantastic. The rest of the day I actually ate really low, so I actually was on maintenance calories pretty much, and walked 20,000 steps, I think, on that day, or something silly. So that was nice. But the next week, like the last week gone by, it's actually been quite hard. And like this week, I think might be potentially hard in terms of mentality, because I feel like I'm in limbo, because now I'm kind of ready, and it's like, it shows like all the, like I can't defer from my routine, but I'm ready, and like I'm just waiting for things to happen. So it's a hard time, I think, because I'm trying to maintain such an unmaintainable position. And this is why I actually think the reverse diet approach is such a powerful one, because at least then you can focus on, actually, I'm maybe feeling slightly better because I'm reversing the calorie deficit. I'm also maybe seeing improvements like in muscle mass, as well as in terms of kind of conditioning. And definitely, I think, and I'll send you my photos this morning, Pascal, but I looked over them, I was like, I look more conditioned now. Like actually everything looks slightly more conditioned, which is crazy to think. It might slightly be the bit of tan that I've got left on and things like this, but I've certainly not lost anything.
And also perhaps because of a stress relief,
you're
getting in a little bit more of calories, which is a good signal for your body to actually drop a little bit of that cortisol. And I mean, you are in a survival mode right now, and all the extra nutrition you are providing your body gives it a little bit more of a stress relief. And also from the mental aspect, you're not really in that dieting mode anymore, because you're thinking, okay, I'm in a caloric deficit. This isn't the case. I mean, you are still in a caloric deficit, but you're not thinking like, okay, I'm cutting right now. All you are thinking right now is eating into the show and reversing. So it could have a positive connotation to the whole thing, which then causes your body to actually release some water that was going on or being held there, right?
And apart from like the physiological side, that's that. The mental aspect and the kind of the psychosocial thing that's hard for me right now is like I want to hang out with. Well, actually, I think first of all to comment on your and my relationship. I think it's improved over the last week in terms of
absolutely
like having that show out the way. I think it'll probably get worse again as I go through depletion.
But to throw it out there, it was also my fault because I wasn't in a good position as well. You were busy and depleted, fatigued in some kind of way, totally in the mindset of your contest prep, which is absolutely fine. And I was still dealing with the struggle of, pulling the plug, transitioning over to a gaining phase, gaining that fluff and all that kind of stuff, which wasn't easy for me. And I mean, we both weren't in the best position where a relationship on a mutual basis can work. So I think that it is kind of every single relationship in life, not necessarily business or friendship, but all kind of relationships that when you go through shitty times together and you're actually overcoming those kind of situations, your bond is getting harder.
Yeah.
And I think this is the case, what's happening with us too right now, because the time right now is hard in its own way. We both have to deal and cope with certain things in our lives while still running the business, while still working on our relationship, because I mean, you can't just expect that relationships work by itself. You need to put in the work, and sometimes you need to step beyond your ego, and which is hard in such a case. So I'm going off tangent again.
But regardless, I'm actually really proud of both of us and because the business has only grown in the last like month. Like we haven't sacrificed anything. Like my depletion week, I had to short-term sacrifice stuff, but the podcast still went out. We still were putting out quality information. We're still getting business inquiries. Like the business is thriving, and I'm so happy about that. And it's only going to once I come out of contest prep, I'm not worried about kind of having no direction, because I know physique-wise, I need to build a monster back and I need to build monster shoulders, and I'm so excited for an off season and developing my physique even further, so I can actually my goal next time is to go pro. Next time I get on stage, like I'd love to go pro, and I actually feel like I could. Like I feel like I actually could, and I want to compete eventually with Pascal, but probably I don't know when that will happen, because you're probably going to compete a bit sooner than I will, which makes sense. And then to focus on the business growth, because I think we have so much potential. We're getting so many guys commenting, and like there's so much to give, and I'm going to have so much energy to give to it. So I'm excited for that. But in terms of other relationships, so with like friends and family, it's difficult to it's one thing doing it with Charlotte, like I did on the weekend, like going into this car boot sale and very much making it work. Whereas like with friends and family, it's virtually impossible, which is really difficult. But for Charlotte and me, it was like on Friday, like if I was in my off season and we're both tired, like Charlotte gets home late from work, we'd be like, oh, do you just fancy like going down the road to this Mexican that we really enjoy and just having a meal there and relaxing, chilling? And it's like
Domino's,
or having a Domino's on 2 for Tuesday. Yeah. It isn't necessarily the food aspect, but it's the relax aspect. Whereas for me right now, it's like I know I have to have this meal. I had to bring my oats with me yesterday, because if I didn't have that, I wouldn't feel good. I had to have carbs in a meal in the middle of the day so I could survive like being out and about. And that's the hard part for us right now. So I feel really bad, because it's like I see Charlotte in the morning, I see her in the evening, and all we get to really see of each other is like, okay, all I want to do is eat a massive salad and watch a TV program, at the moment Homeland, which is freaking awesome. Whereas like she might want to do whatever, like she might want to be, and I even said to her, I was like, sometimes like I'd be up like in the off season, we could go and see a movie and I could be up later and it wouldn't be a stress because I know I can manage my time and blah, blah, blah. Whereas now it's like, I need to get my sleep. I have to get to bed at this time. If I don't, if I get out of my routine, I'm so unsettled and I'm such a mess. It's just not worth it. And to know that that's going to be like another month or two is kind of a bit hard to feel, but it will be over. The actual kind of contest prep in comparison to last time has been so much better, but these sort of things, they just happen and they have to happen. And it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. You can't be as flexible when you're in comp prep.
Totally. And I mean, those are our extreme goals. And if that's not working out with your environment and with your life, then perhaps stepping on stage isn't really for you, right? And other than that, it is only a temporary thing. You're not contest prepping your entire life. And if you're trying to make that understandable for your environment, and they do understand it, or perhaps they don't, then you have to make the priorities and see for yourself what is more important. Spending time, giving the love, having enough capacity to actually go out there, do some stuff with them. Or is it really that important to do the shows? And both things are valid. Nothing makes you superior over the other. When you decide to not compete, absolutely fine as well. I have the feeling that right now there's a trend in the industry of you need to compete to be someone. And I find it quite disturbing to some extent, because you need to be a competitive powerlifter. You need to be a competitive bodybuilder, because otherwise you're not allowed to call yourself a powerlifter or a bodybuilder or anything like that. And I don't think that this is the right thing, because the people don't get into the sport because they want to compete, but they have other intentions. And some people aren't actually the competitive guys. And this is absolutely fine. Not everyone enjoys the process of competitiveness. And I think that this is easily forgotten by the industry right now, that first and foremost, the people should enjoy it. And I know a lot of people who are super big, super strong, who never competed in their lives and who never want to. And then judging them by that is simply wrong, I think.
No, definitely. And the only, and we've discussed it before, and we don't agree to disagree. We actually agree. The only time I could see that being something is like, our business, we want competitive powerlifters and bodybuilders. If neither of us had either competed in either sports ever, you might look at that and be a bit like, like it might be benefit for one of you to do this. And I know for myself, like I've said this, every time I compete, I learn something new. So that's the only time I could ever see that being like a thing. Otherwise, you got people like Matt Ogus. He doesn't intend to compete anymore. He doesn't compete in powerlifting or bodybuilding. He's done both, but he doesn't want to anymore. He's like starting a life, I think, as like a dad. He's got like a kid coming.
Exactly.
Crazy.
Exactly. So, and I mean, if the thing is that if you see yourself only as a real good person because you're competing, then there's definitely something wrong, because this is only a temporary thing. I don't think that you're capable of competing your entire life. And there are way more important things, I think, outside of the gym and outside of the world of nutrition that you will regret when you don't take care of them now.
Yeah. No.
Because you will only realize it when you're getting older, how important perhaps something like social environment is actually. When you're 60 or 70 and you're all alone because the only thing you were focused on for 40 years was bodybuilding, then this is a really sad life, actually.
I think I think we can probably leave it on this point in that there's definitely a balance to be played, and I think that that balance is going to look different for everyone. But I have definitely seen maybe a lot of, and it probably is just the people we see, but I've seen a lot of younger guys who are looking to compete in future, maybe even like 3 years down the line, they're saying, and they're talking about they have to be 100% like you have to be 100% committed. You can't miss any meals. You can't like mess up your macros any single day. Like I don't go to social occasions very often because of this and this, and like it's like they're, I don't know, 18 years old or 20 years old and they don't want to step on stage for like 3 years. And whilst credit that they want to get the most out of their off season, I think you can get like 99% of the results without having to go to those extremes. And in fact, oftentimes by actually having a smidgen more flexibility and actually like maybe, I don't know, missing a meal or screwing up macros one day gets you to commit more to the process and actually enjoy it more and get more results via that way anyway. So yeah, I've seen that actually. There's a big trend for that right now where guys are like, they're taking mentality of like professional guys who earn their living through bodybuilding and they're applying that to their lives. And it's kind of like, you will end up hating the sport eventually. Yeah,
Mate, what you've just said there is so true, and I totally agree with that. With having the mentality of a professional bodybuilder, but the thing is it really necessary, especially on their level? Absolutely not. And when you have the potential for it, you will know before that already. Right? I mean, you will already be that big before you even get really into that mindset of, I don't know, competing at Olympia. You will know that before you step onto that realm of competitive bodybuilding, right? And then that's a completely different thing. But this is only like less than 1% of the population out there. So for all the people listening to this podcast, actually, you don't have to go to such extreme levels to enjoy the sport and to actually achieve something. Man, live your life. Yeah. I'm running into that issue myself constantly. And I always need to remind myself that there are other things out there which I will, again, regret if I'm not doing them now and if I'm not taking care of them now. Because when I don't take care of them now, in 20 years from now, it will be too late. And then I'm standing there and will regret that I only took care about my training and my nutrition. So balance is a fundamental aspect for longevity and for a qualitative life.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's our role as coaches. This is what we do for a lot of our clients, is help them find that balance. Totally. And just to finally say it, don't get us wrong. You, me, our clients are way more committed and way more like ticking boxes and doing everything that's necessary to get results than anyone. Like, we love that. We love that mentality. Like, we are serious about our training and nutrition way more than anyone else a lot of the time. But we realize the importance of balance, and that is so important because people, it's like they talk about don't follow the top pros bodybuilding program. Well, you don't have to follow, like, don't follow everything they're doing because it's just not applicable.
Yeah. And just on a last note here, I think that people always talk about sacrifices. And I think that, yes, you need to make some sacrifices to get to a specific level, but the sacrifices you are making, make the right ones. Don't make the wrong sacrifices because you think that those are the ones you need to do. Don't drop out of your social zone. Don't avoid social occasions because you think that this is the sacrifice you need to do, right? And this is something I just wanted to throw out there, that when you think you need to do sacrifices, then make actually the right ones and not the ones that are unnecessary to do.
Don't take your Tupperware to Christmas dinner. Extreme example, but anyway, we'll leave it there because we're getting to 50 minutes, and actually I'm not sad that it's been this long, apart from the fact that Pascal hasn't been able to eat yet. But I actually think this has been an incredibly productive episode, so I've really enjoyed it.
And I think that the episode in it for itself was quite anabolic for me. So I think that it counteracted the catabolic effect that was happening right now. And I mean, look at me. I'm still small, so it doesn't make a big difference. No.
Awesome. Right. Cheers, guys. Thank you so much for listening, and we will catch you soon.